Is it recording, Katie?
Yes.
Okay. So, right off the bat, date 1/31/18. So, factor the following. So, number one is it's just common factoring. I mean, there is no other term, so I'm just going to take out a 2 and an x, because that's what they have in common, okay? Now, the order of this is not necessarily the same order as your test or your quiz tomorrow, but all of these kinds of problems will be on it, okay? So if I pull out a 2x, I'll be left with an x. If I pull out a 2, out of that I'll have just a 4. And of course, you can always test this. Oh, did you not get one?
No.
Yeah, it's right there. You can always test it because you can always multiply through. There's your 2x squared plus your 8x, okay? Tamla, you want me to slow down for a second, let you get caught up? You okay? Number 2, parentheses, 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 right? And then factor it, x and x. 48, how about an 8 and 6? I like 8 and 6 because I can make it a 2, right? 8 and 6, how about a negative 8 and a positive 6? And there it is, factored. Okay. Am I doing okay or am I going too fast? Okay. Number 3, parentheses, 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 parentheses. When I have a leading coefficient, I have to use my double smiley to make the 4. When I have a leading coefficient, I need to check with my double smiley. I know for sure 3x and x, right? Because that will get me my 3x squared. Now this one's actually pretty easy. It really is, because there's only one way to make a 1. 1 times 1, right? So if I go 1 and 1, and then the 4 is there because we can check the double smiley, right? 3x, 1x makes the 4x, right? Plus, okay? Oh, it's not too bad. So some of these should be pretty easy. You guys agree? I mean, you guys are good at factoring now, aren't you? We got there. We did. 4, just going to go x plus 7, x minus 7, because that'll make a negative 49 and an x squared. And then the middle term is 0, and if you do your double smiley, negative 7x, positive 7x makes 0, and that makes sense because there is no middle term. So the double smiley actually works. 5. This one's a little different, isn't it? But what I do see is they have a common multiple of 5, and they both have at least an x in common. So I'm going to take out that 5x. I'm going to common factor first. So if I pull out the 5x, the 5 will be gone, an x will be gone, so all I have is an x squared. If I pull out a 5 out of 20, remember it's a multiplication process, I'd have a 4 and no x. Now, this one can be factored twice. This one can be factored twice, because what I recognize is x squared minus 4 is just like what we did over here, isn't it? It's just like we did in number 4, so I'll leave the 5x on the outside, and I'll factor, squeeze it in there, x plus 2, x minus 2. Okay, so it does factor twice. But I need to have the 5x out there because that was the first thing I factored out was the 5x. And then I recognize that would be an x plus 2x minus 2, okay? Number 6. Am I going too fast? Am I okay?
Good.
Okay. What I recognize is they all have a common multiple of 3, don't they? So the first thing I'm going to do is take out the common 3. So take out a common multiple of 3, and let's see what I have left. So I take a 3 out of an x squared, and it left with an x squared, because the 3 is pulled out, right? I factor a 3 out of a negative 3x, and I'll have a negative 1x. And I factor out a 3 out of an 18, and I should have a minus 6, right? Now, I recognize that this can be factored again. So some of these you're going to have to factor twice, all right? Because I know the multiples of 6, negative 3, positive 2 will make the negative 1, so I can factor this one again. So I'll just go x minus 3, x plus 2. Okay? So far, so good? Now, solve for x. So all of these were just factors because there was no equal sign, right? These had no equal sign, right? So we just factor. No equal sign, so we just factor. But if we put an equal sign into it, set it equal to 0, then we're going to have to solve. So if we take number 1 up here and rewrite as in factored form, 2x times x plus 4, equals 0, right? Then we would get two answers, right? One answer, 2x equals 0, x plus 4 equals 0. And of course, hopefully you guys are skipping this step by now, right? Because you know what we're going to do. Divide by 2, one answer is 0. Subtract 4, the other answer is negative 4, okay? Renee, you're thinking. You got it?
No.
Okay. Divide by 2. 0 divided by 2 is, huh?
How'd you get 2x equals 0?
Oh, it says solve. So I'm doing number 1. It says solve for the problems above. So I just did number 1. And we'd already factored it, right? So I just took its factored form and set it equal to 0. Let's do number 2. Hopefully so let's take its factored form and set it equal to 0. Got an x minus 8, x plus 6, and I set it equal to 0, right? So obviously equals 8 and negative 6, right? I mean, I skipped a step, but you guys know what I did. I'm just going to plus 8, subtract 6, subtract 6. Number 3 from above, if we take its factored form, and we take the 3x plus 1 and my x plus 1 and set it equal to 0, right? Because I want to solve it. I'll have a 3x plus 1 equals 0, x plus 1 equals 0, right? And I'm just going to solve. Am I going too fast? I'm okay? Okay? Okay. Okay, I don't want to go fast. That's why I ask, right? Sometimes I can watch and see where you're at. But you guys are already there, right? So, minus 1, divide by 3, negative 1/3 for that answer. Minus 1, okay. And there you have it. Okay, let's solve for number 4 from above, okay? So number 4 was that take the factored form, because you want to factor it and solve, right? So if I take my x plus 7, x minus 7, set it equal to 0, I'd get x equals negative 7 and x equals positive 7, right? Or plus or minus 7 if you want to write it fancy, huh? Bailey, you got to put that phone away. Of course you are. You can't get the internet anyway, right? Yeah. But you can always text, huh? Yeah. Okay, let's look at 5. How am I doing? Am I okay? Renee, am I okay? Am I going? Have you caught up with me? No? Okay, 5. Take the factored form. Do you want me to go back through number 2 with you later? Number 5 is going to have 3 answers because there's 1, 2, 3 x's. We're going to get 3 answers because there's 1, 2, 3 x's, right? So the first answer for divide by 5, first answer is x equals 0. Second answer is x equals negative 2. Third answer is x equals positive 2. Now where did I get this 0 from? 5x equals 0, right? Divide by 5 and I get 0. Subtract 2, add 2, okay? Now let's do number 6 from above. Number 6, we have this 3, x minus 3, x plus 2. So let me ask you an easy, super easy question. How many x's are in here?
2.
So you only have 2 answers. This is not an x, is it? So you don't worry about this. This won't give you an answer. Don't worry about the 3. In fact, if you want to throw 3 away, go ahead. You can't throw 3 away, but if you divide both sides by 3, you can. So then you get x equals 3 and x equals negative 2. Am I okay? So first part of your quiz tomorrow, you're going to factor. Second part of your quiz, you're going to have some problems which you'll have to solve. So you have to factor, then solve, right? Second half, you'll have to factor, then solve to get the answers, okay? Some of those problems on the second part, you don't factor to solve. In fact, look at number 8. You wouldn't factor this at all. How would you solve number 8?
Set the square root.
Square root, agree? We're going to square root. So we're going to square root. Square root. How many answers? 2. So we're going to x plus 4 equals plus or minus 5, right? So to get 2 answers, I need 2 equations. To get 2 answers, I need 2 equations. I'll say it again. How annoying. To get 2 answers, we need 2 equations. One equation is an x plus 4 equals positive 5, and the other equation is x plus 4 equals the negative 5, right? Because of the plus 5 and the minus 5, right? So if I solve minus 4, one answer is 1, right? Minus 4. Here, minus 4. The other answer is negative 9. Okay, number 9. We're going to have an I. We will have an I, and I can see that. You don't see that yet, but maybe you do. But let's find out why I'm saying this answer is going to be an I answer. So if I bring over 24, I'm going to get a negative 24, right? Agree with that? So I'm going to have a parentheses x plus 2 squared. But when I take the square root on my next step, I'm going to take the square root of I, of negatives, which is going to have to give me an I. Okay, so I square root, right? How many answers? 2, right? So let me break down this negative 24. I'll break that down over here, okay? A little side work. Square root of negative 24. Okay, a little side work. Same thing as the square root of 4, square root of 6 times square root of negative 1, right? A little side work. See my little side work? 24 same as 4 times. Why do I like 4 so much? Because it's a perfect square, right? I like 4 because I know what the square root of 4 is, right? I mean, I could use 3 and 8, I could use 2 and 12, nah. 1 and 12, not really. I want 4 and 6 because this one has a square root, right? So the square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 6, it's just an ugly decimal, so I'm going to leave it as the square root of 6. And I know the negative 1 gives me, square root of negative 1 gives me an I. Okay, so let's bring that back over here. So again, x plus 2 equals plus or minus 2 square roots of 6 I. Okay? Minus 2, x will equal plus or minus 2 square roots of 6 I minus 2. How am I doing? Renee, you okay?
I don't like this class so far.
No, I'm sorry. I like having you in here. I'm sorry. Okay, number 10. We're going to solve by completing the square. So first thing I'm going to do, what's the first step? Bring c to the other side. Done. What's the second step? Get rid of this 2. So we're going to divide by 2, okay? Divide by 2. So I'll have an x squared minus a 4x equals 2.5. You okay with that? First step, bring over c. That was done. Second step, get rid of the a. I divided out the 2. Third step, remember, take half of this. Half of negative 4 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is 4, right? So I'm going to go plus 4, okay? This will factor, right? This should factor into an x minus 2, and this becomes a 6.5, okay? And I'll accept this answer, okay? There's a nicer, a better mathematical answer, 13 halves, but we're going to leave that, okay? This same thing as an x minus 2 squared equals 6.5, right? Square root, to get rid of the square root, right? 2 answers. X minus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 6.5, and I'm just going to leave that because the answer is an ugly decimal, okay? So let's just leave it as plus or minus square root of 6.5 because this is exactly the answer versus a decimal, okay? And the last thing, let's just go plus 2. So x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 6.5 plus 2, okay? How am I doing? Okay. Ready to turn the page? All right. Okay, 11, graph. All right, so there's many ways to do this one, right? I'm going to get a piece of graph paper out. I'm going to do it the math way. If you guys want to use the calculator, that's fine with me. I'm going to do the math way. So I'm going to ask for certain things on 11. First of all, I'm going to ask for the line of symmetry. going to ask for that. And so I'm going to go use x is equal to negative b over 2a for the line of symmetry, right? Which is going to be negative 2 over 2 times 1, which is negative 1, okay? So that's my line of symmetry. I know that, okay? So you're going to say x equals negative 1. I'm going to circle that because that's one of the questions you're going to answer for me, okay? Tomorrow you're going to tell me, boom, line of symmetry is x equals whatever. It has to be x equals because it's a vertical line. Vertical line has to be x equal equations, okay? Now, the vertex then, the vertex is going to be negative 1 something, right? Negative 1 something. Okay, and I will do this. I will take, Renee, am I okay? You're right on the negative 1, right? Okay. So I'm going to plug this in. I'm going to go, you ready, Claire? F of negative 1 tells me I'm plugging in negative 1, right? Like Katie said, if x is negative 1, so the negative 1 should go right in for the x, right? And this is like a question. It's saying evaluate the function when x is negative 1. Okay, so evaluate the function when x is negative 1, which is really like a negative 1 squared plus a 2 times a negative 1 minus a 48. I think it's going to be a negative 49. Okay, I think the answer is negative 49. Okay. My y-intercept, that's easy. Y-intercept is at 0, negative 48. Has to be that number. Because if x is 0, right? If x is 0, you get negative 48. X-intercepts, I'm going to set it equal to 0 and factor. So your x-intercepts is where y is 0, correct? Your x-intercepts are where y is 0, so set y equals 0 and solve. Well, okay, I can factor this pretty easy. X plus 8, x minus 6, right? So I'm going to get two answers, negative 8 and positive 6. But those are points. So I want the coordinate. Those are points on the graph. So my x-intercepts are at negative 8, comma 0 and 6, comma 0. Okay. All right, I think I'm ready to graph. Let's see what I'm going to graph. I'm going to graph this. I'm going to graph this. I'm going to graph my line of symmetry, my vertex, my y-intercept. I'm going to graph my x-intercepts. Okay. So probably need to go by, I might go by 5s to make this thing fit. 5s on the y's. Okay. So I'm going to change my scale so it fits. All right. And I'll have to estimate where certain points are. I'll go by 1s on this one. I'll go 1, 2, 3. I'll go by 5, negative 10, negative 20, negative 30, negative 40, negative 50. Otherwise, it's just not going to fit, right? It's just not going to fit at all. Okay. So first of all, line of symmetry goes right down at negative 1, right? Okay. So I scaled these by 1s and I scaled these by 5s. Okay with that? Makes it fit better, right? Makes it look better, okay? Then I'm going to go to negative 149, which is about there, okay? About there. I'm going to have y-intercept to 0, negative 48. Maybe about there, if I estimate it. About there. So I got about there's my y-intercept. I'm going to have x-intercepts at negative 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm just going to draw it in. And it looks really wide only because my scales are different, right? And these go by 1s and these go by 5s. That's why it looks so wide. It's because the scales are different. Number 12. Haha, my favorite. I like 12. 12 is great. You ready for 12? Going too fast? Everybody have my graph? Okay, let's do 12. Okay, so right off the bat, I like 12 because it's in vertex form. So right off the bat, I know that the vertex is -2, -7. And if you need to make yourself a little note, highlight or whatever, opposite. Remember opposite? Opposite. So it's got to be the opposite of that. So if you need to make a little note, say opposite of that, right? Opposite of that. Opposite, right? So I went to -2, 7. So that means my line of symmetry, which goes through the vertex, has to be x equals -2, okay? Now, this is one where we can do our 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, because we've got a 1 here. So I'm going to go, okay, let's just do this the easy way. Take a graph. Y and my x-axis, -2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Line of symmetry, right? Got that drawn in there. Vertex, I have that. Line of symmetry, I have that. If I go 1, 1, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's my y-intercept, right? There's my y-intercept. And then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I can draw it in. Okay, so one of the things I can get from my graph is the y-intercept. I can just see it. Went right through. Here's my y-intercept right there. Right? Here's my y-intercept. And it's at 1, 2, 3 at 0, -3. I can just get that from the graph. It hit exactly when I did my 1, 1, 2, 3. I went 1, 2, and it right on the line. Awesome. I like that, okay? Now, the ones that I don't have exact are my x-intercepts. X-intercepts, okay? I don't know those. I mean, it's about 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe -4.8, maybe. And maybe it's about 0.8, maybe. But how do I find out exactly? We set y equal to 0. Okay, if you want to find the x-intercepts, set y equal to 0. Okay, so we got to do a little math. Oh, we got to do a little math. Seriously? I can do it. I can handle it. So if we set y equal to 0, we'll have x plus 2 squared minus 7, okay? Okay, so I'm doing it right here, okay? Can we solve? Sure. Plus 7 plus 7. Okay. Square root, right? How many answers? 2. So plus minus. Now I'm going to need a calculator answer because I need to graph this, right? So what is the square root of 7? I don't know. Well, probably do about 3.4, but let's double check. Square root of 7. No, I was wrong. How about 2.6? Couldn't be 3, could it, Claire?
Yeah.
No, not even close. So it's about 2.6. So we get plus or minus 2.6 equals x plus 2, right? I just used the calculator, and I rounded the nearest tenth. The reason I rounded the nearest tenth is it's the best I can do with graphing, right? I can graph a tenth, but there's no way I'd be able to graph a hundredth. That's way too accurate. I mean, I have to have really good eyesight, huh? So now this is going to be a 2.6 equals an x plus 2, and a negative 2.6 equals an x plus 2. Minus 2, one answer is 0.6. Ooh, I thought it was 0.8. I was close, but not there. Minus 2, I get a negative 4.6. There they are. Exactly, okay? Exactly. Almost done. Okay? Number 13 is not bad. Number 13 is not bad, okay? All right, 13. Ball's thrown up into the air. Its height can be described by, sorry Claire, it's in feet, not meters, negative 16t squared minus 64t plus 5, and that's in terms of feet per second, right? So find the highest height and the time it got to be there. So what I like to do, let's just draw a picture, right? So, I mean, you don't have to draw a picture, but it helps me. Starts at high, up and down, okay? This is time, and this is height. I always love to do this little example. It won't be on film, but you guys watch, okay? Watch. This does not describe, ready? We are not describing this. That's not the parabola we're describing. We're not describing its path. We're describing its height over time. We're actually describing this. Okay, I want you to count real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So time expires as it goes up, comes down. Does that make sense? It's not this. It's not its path. It's how high it goes up over time, right? Does that make sense? That's why it looks like this. So, what's its highest height? Well, that's got to be the vertex. We can find the vertex. It's easy, right? Negative b over 2a, right? Which is a negative 64 over 2 times a negative 16, which is a 64 over 32, which is 2. So at 2 seconds, that's at its highest height, right? What is that height? Plug it in.
Wait, shouldn't it be negative 32 since 16 is a negative?
I must have made a mistake somewhere because it shouldn't be negative. Negative b. Oh, I did make a mistake. This has to be plus. That has to be plus my... Thank you, Katie. That was really astute of you. This absolutely has to be plus. Because that would be its initial velocity, shooting it up. That's like as if I threw it down. I didn't do that. Sorry, my bad. I made this last night. I was trying to help you out, and I made a mistake. Has to be plus because we're throwing it up. Initial velocity. Thanks, Katie. So now, how do we get the initial height? We're going to go h of 2. Claire, that's height with respect to time at 2 seconds. The height at 2, which is really a negative 16 times a 2 squared plus 64 times 2 plus 5. So we got clear. Negative 16 times 4 plus 64 times 2 plus 5. Hold on, I didn't get the right answer. Try it again. Times 2 squared plus 64 times 2 plus 5. There we go, 69. So it goes to a height of 69 feet. There you go. Now,